Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different as this week is Eating Disorder Awareness Week set up by Beat. So I thought I would do a little video giving people a bit of information about eating disorders, what different types there are and what you can do to help someone if you think that they may be suffering from an eating disorder. So to start off, I just want to give out a few facts. So on average, people don't seek help until about 149 weeks after symptoms have started appearing, and this is just under 3 years. And statistics show that the sooner someone gets help, the quicker and easier it will be for them to recover, more than someone that's been suffering from an eating disorder for longer, just based on the facts of how long they've been in this mindset and how hard, I guess, it is to change your way of thinking, especially if you've been in such a dark mindset for such a long time. 1 out of 3 adults, which is about 34%, that did a eating disorder survey could not name any signs or symptoms of an eating disorder. So Beat is not only campaigning to improve the treatments and services available, but they're also wanting to raise awareness about what eating disorders are and what their signs and symptoms are. So what is an eating disorder? An eating disorder is a mental illness based on your eating habits, and they're normally distorted. This can include starving, so not eating the amount that you're meant to, binging, where you eat far too much, especially in one sitting, not just throughout the day. It's normally one large sitting, which can also link to purging, which is basically making yourself sick, and exercise, so basically exercising to the point that they're fatigued or they're like starting to get really run down and ill. Eating disorders are not just based around the food aspect, although that does play a large part because of what the illness is, but it is more to do with the feelings that the people suffering with them feel. The eating disorder itself may make them feel like they're a bit more in control of their life, that it's something that they're able to have a say in what happens, I guess, and it's also a way of being able to cope in some situations. So the main eating disorders, there are 4 of them. So there is anorexia nervosa, which is basically where you drop below the healthy BMI, but it also is to do with your eating, like you can have anorexia and not be underweight. There's also bulimia, which is basically it's kind of binging and purging together, where you basically eat a lot and then throw it all up afterwards. Then there is the binge eating disorder, which is just the binge eating, where you eat the large amounts in one sitting. And then there is also EDNOS, which stands for eating disorder none other specified, and this is kind of where you're showing symptoms of having an eating disorder, but it doesn't fit into one category. And this is still a valid diagnosis. I can't stress this enough. This is still a valid diagnosis, and just because you have this diagnosis rather than any other diagnosis, it doesn't mean that you're any less valid and that you're not suffering as much as someone else. Some people can move between their diagnoses, because sometimes people's symptoms change. Like they could start off with being anorexic, but then they could start taking up bulimic symptoms, like they start purging. And also sometimes the symptoms can overlap between different eating disorders, so you may be diagnosed with more than just one eating disorder. The reason for diagnosing someone with an eating disorder is not to make them feel ashamed about what they are suffering with, but it is important that they get the correct diagnosis to receive the correct treatment, because different eating disorders means that you will have a different kind of strategy towards recovery. Eating disorders are very serious illnesses and can eventually become fatal if they are not treated in a correct amount of time, and they can also start causing your organs to shut down and stop working properly, and also stuff like your periods, they can just completely stop, which is not a good sign. I know we all hate periods, but periods are a sign of being healthy, so if they suddenly stop caused by an eating disorder, then that is really serious. Anorexia itself has the highest mortality rate out of all of these eating disorders. So eating disorders are all serious, but they are all treatable. So if you get the correct help that you need, you can fully recover from an eating disorder. Whilst it is more common for young women aged between 12 and 20 are more likely to get or develop an eating disorder, it can affect anyone, absolutely anyone. It can be men, women, any other genders that you identify with, any race, ethnicity, anything really. Anyone can get an eating disorder, which is really important to know about. So there are a few signs that you can kind of notice if you think that someone might have an eating disorder. So Beat have a little diagram that I'll show here that basically shows a few signs of what people may do, what behaviours they may show if they have an eating disorder. So the first one is lips, which is becoming more obsessive about food. Flips is a sudden change in behaviour. Hips, distorted beliefs in their body image or size. Kips, because you're not eating enough and you're not getting enough energy into your body, you may become even more tired, so you may be sleeping more, or you may not be able to concentrate as best as you were able to before. Nips is visiting the toilet frequently after meals, which could be a sign of bulimia because it's normally after meals that people tend to purge. And skips, so this kind of Beat has kind of sectioned it off into just excessively exercising, like skipping, hence why it's called skips, but it also can link into lips, which is being obsessed about food. Skips can be skipping meals. If you are worried about someone, then don't panic, stay calm and let them know that you are there for them. Beat is an amazing charity that offers a lot of services and advice. You can email or phone them, and there's also a lot of information on their website which may be able to help you or someone that you know with an eating disorder. What I've just mentioned, those are not the only signs and symptoms of having an eating disorder. Someone else could completely have different other signs, but they could still have an eating disorder. These signs I've just said are not set in stone. So if you are still concerned about anyone or yourself, even if you're not showing any of these signs, you may still have an eating disorder, or this person may still have an eating disorder. So it is important to get in touch with someone, whether this be your GP or a helpline such as Beat. So I just want to finish off by saying that it is extremely important to help someone or yourself if you are suffering from an eating disorder, or if they're suffering from an eating disorder, to get the help that they need. But if you do have an eating disorder, just remember that it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's actually more common than you think it may be, which is really sad, but there is so much help out there that you can get. There's so much treatment available for you, such as counselling, therapy, rehab, stuff like that. So you are not alone in this, and if you are trying to get someone to get help, then just reassure them of this, that lots of people suffer with eating disorders, sadly, and it is something that is acceptable to feel. It's just not acceptable to carry on these behaviours. It is acceptable to get help. So never be ashamed to ask for help or get any help, or realise that you have a problem with your eating. You can talk to anyone about it, teachers, friends, family, people online such as online counsellors or helplines, then just do it. Just do whatever you can to get the help that is available. There is so much available out there for you, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want to get this message across that there is help available and you are not alone. And if you are trying to help someone, they may react badly, they may be in denial, but just keep at it. Get advice from B about how you can help this person, and kind of try not to do it alone. You yourself, without the training, won't be able to help someone with an eating disorder just by yourself. So get help yourself to get the correct advice for them so they can recover in the best way possible. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week. Bye.